Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Awakened Souls podcast. I'm your host, Devin Brown, a Kundalini activator, spiritual guide, mentor, and hopefully just a great source of entertainment for you. Let's get ready to dive in. Hello, 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 and happy Monday. So today we are actually going to be talking about imposter syndrome, or when we get in our heads about our spiritual giftings, who we are, our callings, even kind of what we believe and what we know to be our truth, and kind of where we come from with that. Imposter syndrome is real. For those of you who have no idea what imposter syndrome is, it is this idea or this fantasy that you are kind of making everything up. There is an actual definition for it, which I am pulling up currently. So it is defined as a behavioral health phenomenon that causes high-achieving individuals to experience self-doubt about their skill, intellect, or accomplishment. People with imposter syndrome may have difficulty internalizing their success, leading to feelings of anxiety, depression, and self-doubt. Essentially, it's kind of almost like a perfectionistic mindset, a perfectionistic term where you really feel like you are never good enough. You really feel like you are always on. You really feel as if you never are enough. And I can state, like, this is something that I dealt with. This is something that I still currently deal with. This is something that even though I have full faith in who I am, I have full faith in where I came from, I have full faith in the knowledge of the connectivity that I have with my highest self, like I am able to channel and to allow myself to be a conduit for healing. I'm a very gifted energy healer. I take people into deep hypnosis and we do past life regressive healings. We do Akashic record readings. I'll be seeing a vision of something and they will be seeing the same vision. Like there's so many things that I do that I get constant, confirmation on. Constant confirmation that, like, this is real, this is happening, this is a real thing, this is not something that is being made up, this is not something in your mind. But it doesn't stop the idea or thoughts that I'm still not enough, that I need to do more, that maybe I need to change the way I do certain things, or maybe I'm making things up. Like, imposter syndrome is something that just comes. Think of it almost like the phrase and the term that you are not your thoughts, you are not your emotions, you are not your ideas. We cannot control what pops into our head. Like, some of it is subconscious, some of it is ego, some of it is conditioning, some of it is fear, some of it is excitement. Like, we have thoughts, ideas that come into our mind constantly, all the time. What do you want for dinner? Did something just pop into your mind when I asked that? Like, what do you want to drink in an hour? Did you drink enough water today? Like, if I'm asking you questions or you're hearing things, like, you will have thoughts and ideas pop into your mind. This is something that takes place. This is something that you can't get away from. Like, this is just part of it. And so what happens though with imposter syndrome is you are constantly feeling like what you did is not enough. What you did wasn't good enough. What you did is not okay. And I experience this all the time on this podcast, and I'm going to give an example. So a lot of the times when I record these podcasts, I begin to channel my highest self, and you can actually tell a little tell for you guys if you know that you're speaking to Devin as in the astral highest self, like the spiritual leader, the one who knows who she is. My southern accent is gone. But when I come back into full fruition of who I am and who I'm meant to be, and I get relaxed and just kind of like fully in the present moment, I will have a very, very thick southern drawl. So it's kind of one of those things. Okay, well, is she making it up? Does she really have an accent? Does she not have an accent? Like, just as a small sampling and a small example of this, but it isn't about the accent. It isn't about me portraying myself in a certain way all the time. Like, think about the movie stars and professionals who go to these red carpet events and these galas, and they are dressed so fancy and so beautiful. They don't dress like that every day. They don't wear clothes like that every day. I guarantee you every single one of them owns a pair of leggings or sweatpants. Like, we all have different versions of ourselves that we bring to the table at different times. Me being a single mom, a business owner, a full-time college student, those are essentially almost 3 different identities. I like to joke about it that sometimes it feels like I have multiple personality disorder, only because and I understand that as a real disorder. I understand and have worked with people who have that disorder. I'm not poking fun, but I'm making a point here. Like, we end up having different versions of ourselves show up for different items and different things. And that is not a bad thing. That doesn't mean you're not being authentic. It doesn't mean you're not being radiant. It doesn't mean you're not being, like the whole point of this podcast, your authentic, radiant self. Like, that is not what that means. What it means is you are showing up for yourself at that time as the version of yourself that you feel needs to be there. Now, we get to a point, though, we need to learn to stop reacting and respond instead. We need to stop moving forward in this intense emotional standpoint where, well, you made me angry, so this is how I showed up. That is not what I'm talking about. I am talking about when we are developing our sense of identity, when we are coming to a place of fruition and we begin to change, we begin to act differently. I will tell you guys, 2 years ago, over 2 years ago now at this point, when I decided that I was going to divorce, I was going to change religions, I was going to be someone who actually put my needs first. I had so many people tell me that they thought maybe I was having a bipolar episode or a mental breakdown, etc. But these were, 1, people who did not know me well. 2, people who don't understand the true growth process when it comes to allowing yourself permission to change and allowing yourself not to live in this black and white modality of, well, you can believe it, you cannot believe it, but there's no in between. Like, there's a lot of misunderstanding when it comes to people growing and people changing, and we judge that. And yes, when people change, it means that they may fall out of alignment with you. It means that they may no longer be someone who's going to be in your inner circle. They may no longer be someone who's going to be a part of your life on a daily basis, but it does not mean that they are any less than they were before. It does not mean that they are anything different than the beautiful, raw, and radiant self that they were before. They need permission to show up differently, but you need to give yourself permission to show up differently. So how do we handle imposter syndrome? How do we handle this idea that we're not good enough? How do we handle this idea that we need to shift and we need to change and we need to move into a different way? Like, what do we do in order to be that person? And part of it is learn every single version of yourself. The version of yourself that lost their temper, the version of yourself that ate unhealthy, the version of yourself that just gave an amazing speech, the version of yourself that just reached your goal, the version of yourself that still needs work, and the version of yourself that was abused, the version of yourself that is no longer like letting yourself be stepped over and you're setting boundaries. Like, learn to love yourself on every single aspect and level, because what happens is you then can come with grace to yourself, because a big part of imposter syndrome is the inability to show grace to yourself. The big part of imposter syndrome is feeling like you have to be perfect, this feeling of perfectionism, this feeling that you are not enough. And it's a lie. That is a lie. There is no such thing as enough. If that's the case, we can all just stop growing when we feel like stopping growing. There is no such thing as too much, because if that's the case, then count me in that bracket. Like, it just means I might not be a vibration for someone else. I may not be the right level for someone else, but there also develops this very toxic dynamic, especially in the world the way it is today, where you don't talk about certain things that have importance to you if it is a altering view or a different view than most of the people in your family circle or in your political circle or in your workplace or maybe, your friend circle. But that's not the case. Like, we need to be willing to surround ourselves with people who are going to love and embrace us for exactly who we are, even if they don't fully understand us. That is how you help heal imposter syndrome. That is how you help move yourself forward into that. Imposter syndrome comes out every single time we hit growth. It's something that we can't get away from it. We cannot get away from imposter syndrome. And I love how as soon as I said we cannot get away from it, it was 10-10. Like, genuinely, we cannot get away from imposter syndrome. It's just not something that can happen because it's part of the growing process. It's part of the ego death. It's part of the inner child wounding healing. It is part of allowing ourselves permission to be. It is part of allowing ourselves permission to grow. It is part of allowing ourselves permission to access fully the part of ourselves that we want to know on an intimate level and we want to see reach their goals. And there's also this idea that in order to be successful, we have to match and meet what other people have been doing. And I'm here to tell you guys, it took me a very long time to learn this lesson. Sometimes I have to still remind myself of this lesson because I forget it all the time. But I came down here with soul contracts. I came down here with contracts meant to meet certain people, meant to have certain events. And as long as every day I listen to myself and I follow that inkling and I never look back and say, I wish I would have done this, which we all have moments like that. But as long as we try our hardest not to, and we manifest into our lives through the choices that we make, growth, imposter syndrome is going to come up. Opportunities for growth are going to come up, because what happens is we begin to heal that conditioned part of ourselves. We begin to heal that codependent part of ourselves. We begin to manifest and to move forward into this new dynamic, into this new point of being, into this new vibration, a whole different sense of who we are, a different sense of where we're going, a different sense of who we are meant to be. And when imposter syndrome comes, you need to go look at yourself in the mirror and remind yourself of all the amazing things you are doing. When you fail, instead of beating yourself up, go and look in the mirror and say, you know what? I just did something very stupid, or I just did something that I absolutely regret, but I'm going to take responsibility, which is new for me, or I'm going to take responsibility because that is the right thing. And I am going to learn to grow from this situation. I am not going to allow myself to fall. I'm not going to allow myself to falter. I'm not going to allow myself to be torn down, to be devastated, to beat myself up, because that does not produce growth. That is not good for anyone. And if you are surrounded by people who make you feel like you need to beat yourself up, or they continually bring up past mistakes or bring up things, then you need new people, period. Once we take responsibility, it doesn't mean it takes the hurt away from someone. And they are absolutely allowed to set boundaries and allowed to set, I'd call it boundaries in the relationship, in the way that you guys are interacting, especially if you were the one that caused hurt against that person. But it doesn't mean that you still need to beat yourself up, because guess what? You don't control how other people get peace. You don't control how other people need to get peace. But what you do control is the way that you treat yourself, the way that you treat your soul, the way that you treat your inner child, the way that you treat this beautiful, miraculous soul that is here for a human experience. Because guess what? You are a living, breathing miracle. And what you can control is what you do for yourself. Only you decide what you put into your mouth to feed your body. Only you also decide what you put into your heart to feed your soul. And if you are surrounded by people that constantly are pulling you down, that are constantly making you feel negative, then those are not your people. And those are the people that you actually need to be able to step away from. And those are the people that you need to allow an exit door. Even if it's people that you feel you owe a relationship to, even if it's people that are blood, or, well, they've been in my life for this long, or, well, it's too late. I can't, I don't want to start over. I'm financially stuck, et cetera, then set boundaries to still protect your inner peace. But a lot of the times we are the ones that are beating ourselves up enough or even more and feeding into that imposter syndrome more than what other people do for us. Like a lot of the times it's coming from us. A lot of the times we are the ones that are the issue and we are the ones that need to change. And that's only going to happen if you make different choices. Let me say that again. You can only show up for yourself differently if you make different choices. I'm going to say it one more time. You can only show up for yourself differently if you make different choices. I feel like I could say that 20 times and some of you still would not get it. But the point is, you need to be able to show up for yourself in a way that allows peace, that allows tranquility, and that says to this imposter syndrome, you know what? Maybe you're right. Maybe that wasn't perfect. Maybe I'm not cut out for this, but I know that I'll regret it if I don't try. So I'm just going to do my best. Just like I tell the kids when they are on the ball field and they are playing t-ball, it's just a game. I will try my best and I will have fun. Because guys, that's what this entire life is. It's a game. It's a simulation. It's a lesson that we are here to learn. We are here to break generational curses, but it's supposed to be fun. And we've forgotten that. It is supposed to be fun. I'm writing that down because I feel like that needs to be an entire episode, like genuinely on how this human journey is literally supposed to be fun. Maybe I'm going to do that next episode. I don't know. But actually, no, my guides told me our next episode is going to be about embracing our unordinary as extraordinary, or extraordinary. And that feeds into imposter syndrome because a lot of the times we don't feel like we're allowed to give ourselves permission to be proud of ourselves. And so we're going to dive into that next episode. But getting back on track here. So it is very, very, very easy for us to beat ourselves up. But it is also very easy once you develop the habit of feeding into yourselves to releasing it as soon as it happens. I was the queen of beating myself up. I was codependent. I would do something wrong. I would overreact and I would feel like then the world was crashing down and I had to do anything and everything and be absolutely perfect and pour into other people and feed other people and, just be the best for everyone else that I possibly could be in that moment because I felt so deranged from who I was and what I had done and how I had acted so differently than I wanted to act. And I'm talking, it could have been the smallest thing, like I burnt dinner or something stupid like that. I really would just be like, I can't do this. I'm not good enough. I'm blah, blah, blah. But no, I am perfectly imperfect. I'm here to learn and I'm doing a damn good job of it. And I want you to give yourself credit too. And remember that you too are doing a damn good job of it and that you are a living, walking, and breathing miracle. And that is today's episode, all about imposter syndrome. I am taking podcast sponsors, $3 a month. Head over to the link here in the bio or my Patreon site, and let's continue to work together, manifest together. I also talked about this a little bit last episode. I am doing a change with the way I run my spirituality program. Instead of taking virtual anymore, I'll say, because I'm still working with the ones that are already signed up, any more one-on-one virtual clients for the Kundalini activation program. Everything is available in the shop. It is all self-run. But if you are doing that program or you are just wanting spiritual guidance or spiritual content or you are enjoying channeled messages that I give, come join our Quantum Circle. The Quantum Circle gives you a energy update and a channeled message every single episode or every single Monday, just like the episodes are released. You get it on Mondays. And with that, you also get any energy updates through the week, any special messages. Sometimes my guides will be like, hey, pull a tarot card. There's a message for this person. Or sometimes we have just a big energy shift or something that needs to take place. And this is a way to get all your access. But we have a community there. There's a group chat. You are able to correspond with each other, to encourage each other, or you can actually private message me there. This is where I can answer your spiritual questions. I can give guidance. I can even do dream interpretations or set up appointments for one-on-one sessions. This is all going to be done through my Quantum Circle. And with this, you also gain access to my library, which has all these wonderful, beautiful healing activations and guided meditations. You gain access to all the past ones, and there's a new one every month. I need to go count those. I think there's like close to 40 in there. At this point, there's a lot. But just know that you are absolutely beautiful, absolutely incredible. And I am honored to facilitate your growth in any way, shape, and form. So join me next week on May 6th as we talk about embracing our unordinary as extraordinary. Have a great day.